In today's session, we would start with a key component that it is there in Talend, that is nothing but TMap. We have various functionalities that a TMap can do. Let's go ahead and see how can we make use of this TMap component for transforming data and for various other operations that are available while we are doing a data processing. For a quick recap, in our previous sessions, we have seen how can we connect to our database. We have used MySQL database. We tried connecting to the database and we have created a table, and then we tried to read and write to the table, and we have modified some of the columns, and we have seen how can we perform various operations that we can do using the Talend job. All that we have done from the MySQL table, and we have verified the data, and we have also ran the job successfully, and we have seen what are the common issues that we can come across while working with the database components. We have also seen what are the different types of DB common and DB specific components that are available in Talend. And as I was mentioning in our previous sessions also, it's always easy. Continue to the further sessions once you have the hands-on. So I believe you all have started working on your local Talend studio and you have tried with all these components and you have pretty much acquired the knowledge that it is necessary to go forward for our next sessions. Let's start with TMap. Let's go ahead and create a new job for working on TMap. So let's say this is job_TMap to with TMap component to make use of various operations that TMap offers. Go ahead and click on finish. There we have our new job. So let me introduce you all to another component today. This is called T-row generator. What is the purpose of this component is that it is used to generate data randomly, that is data on the fly. So this component is given by Talend so that we can have some data generated and that data can be used in our further components. So now that I want to create some data and I want to do some transformations on the data, instead of me in a real time, you would have the data already available with you. But for me now, I want to use this T-row generator and generate the data dynamically and then use the data for further transformations using TMap. So let's see how can we generate the data. Before getting into the TMap, I'll show you how can we use this T-row generator and generate some dynamic data, and let's print it on our console using a tlogRow component. Then I also have a tlogRow. Let me join this. All right. So we have both of them. We'll always go ahead and rename it. I'll give this as to get data. And then this is to print data. All right. So let's go ahead and customize this. So come to this T-row generator component and click on row generator editor. This would give a window which has various options that we can do for generating data. First of all, go ahead and click on plus. So my idea is I want to generate some random data which has a ID number, and then there is a first name, there is a last name, and then there is years of experience. And I also want to see which state the person belongs. So this is nothing but employee data. Let's call this as employee data, where we have an employee ID and then we have an employee first name, last name, and years of experience and the city in which the employee resides. All right. So let's see how can we get this data dynamically or randomly. So this is let me first give the column names. This is my employee ID. And this is my employee first name. And we have employee last name. And we have employee underscore experience. This is years of experience. And we also have employee underscore state. So now first what I did, I've clicked on add using this plus button that we have in this window, which added me a 5 columns, and I have given column name for each of this. Now come to the type. ID is my integer. Select that as integer. First name and last name will remain as string. Experience will change back to integer because it's number of years. We're considering this as experience in number of years. And then we have employee state. This is also a string. Now let's see what are the functions that are available. Since this is an ID, my employee ID should have a number starting from one number and then sequencing or auto incrementing by 1. So how can I do that? So when you change this to integer, you will find various functions that are available. If you see here, there are some functions like date generators, numerical sequence generators, random generator, and there is a bitwise operator, and then there are integer and all of that. So what I'm using now is I'm using a numeric sequence function. So what does this function do? So this function will start with whatever the value I give it here. So I want to start the employee ID from 1, 2, 3. So this is the first employee ID that I want to start with. And then I want to increment each employee ID by a step 1. So I give this as 1. And how many rows I want to generate like this? Let's go with 10. So I just want 10 rows of employee IDs starting with 123, and each row is incremented by 1. So let's print and see how do we will get to see this data. That will be more clear for you when we print it up and see. So just be with me for another 2 minutes. We'll print up and then we'll come back and visualize this. So how do I get a first name? So now come back again. Earlier, since it was an integer, here we have functions related to the numericals. Now this is a string. I have functions related to a string handling techniques. Okay, these are the various functions that are available when I choose the column as string.